Welcome to Dovin, Architect of Law. Looks like we're playing against Ashiok, so it should be a pretty fun little match. As far as our opening hand goes, we've got Field of the Dead, Karn's Bastion, Tranquil Cove. We do have Disdainful Stroke, which, yeah, I'm going to keep on this one. We don't really have any card advantage. Yeah, let's go and mulligan on this. We do have a free mulligan. Yeah, we'll keep on this one. I like this. Oh, I like this a lot better. We'll keep on this one. And opponent's on the play, and they've got no. Actually, we're on the play, so I'm just going to lead off with Guildgate, and then we'll pass the turn to our opponent. They've got the look at that. She's mad. She's ready to fight. She's going to keep fighting. That's enough of that. Let's go. Let's have Island enter the battlefield, and then anything else pass the turn over to our opponent. So we're playing Dovin, Architect of Law, +1. You gain 2 life and draw a card. Then for a -1 tap target creature, it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Then for a -9, tap all permanents target opponent controls. That player skips their next untap step. So they do see, they saw what's in our hand, and let's just go and make the command tower drop and then pass the turn. Playing against Ashiok, Dream Render. Spells and abilities your opponent's control can't cause their controller to search, I almost said sacrifice their library, to search their library. Then for a -1, target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, then exile each opponent's graveyard. So let's go and lead off with Island, and then kick it back over there. We've just got 3 counter spells waiting to counter some stuff, so we're just going to keep making land drops till we get to Dovin, and then go from there. And hopefully you like the islands. I hand selected the disinformation. Yeah, man, we do not want to play around this the entire game. So I think at this point, our best bet might be, didn't say please? Yeah, let's do that, because if they get Surveil going and they keep that card advantage going, that's just not going to be good for us. So we're going to pop that one right there. Let's have Plains come down. Let's go for Shimmer of Possibility, because that still keeps us open on our other 2 lands. So Flux Channeler, 1/2. We're going to go for Field of the Dead. Put 1 into our hand. I think at this point we might end up actually just grabbing Jace. I think that would be good. So let's grab Jace. That's going to go, and we did make the land drop for the turn, so kick it back over there. So we did cover both commanders. It is officially free time to have some fun. As far as this Dovin deck goes, this is enters the battlefield, target player puts the top 4 cards of their. Yeah, we're not really that concerned about a Well of Lost Thought, so that is fine with us. So I'll be able to get that down. But yeah, this is just straight up blue-white control. What we're doing with this, and we rip into a Chemistry's Insight out of the graveyard. So this can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with the island. I think we just go Dovin. And I mean, if we got counter magic, they've got it. So let's have, because if this sticks, they might have Disdainful Stroke. Okay, they do have it. That's fine. We'll put it back into the command zone. That was a risk well worth taking, because if we get this to stick and we get that +1 and we get that card advantage, we're just going to take away the game from here. And the good thing is we got them to burn that, which is a pretty good option. So, and with the Ashiok with that -1, we do have to be a little bit concerned about getting milled out. They did exile our graveyard, and so, but we draw into Prison Realm, which is, pretty nice. So let's have Tranquil Cove enter the battlefield. We're gonna gain that life, and that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 total mana. So let's just go for Prison Realm, because with Prison Realm, that's gonna get rid of Ashiok. We just want to get that commander tax going up on Ashiok, so we're gonna go and exile Ashiok. And we do get a Scry and a Scurry and a Fever. And a little bit of Insanity, so that's going to be pretty good. So let's go and leave Hollow Fountain on top. We want to make our land drops going forward, so, and then we'll pass the turn. So we've got Absorb open. We do have Sinister Sabotage open too. And then once we end up going for Jace, Lazoff, let's see what they got going on. So they don't have any creatures in their graveyard other than Sage Rose Denizen. Do we want to counter that? They're going to get the Surveil for 1. It's going to be Cinder. Yeah, I think I kind of like this. Yeah, let's go for that, because that way we're just not having to fight it. And if Well of Lost Thoughts wants to sit there as a 0/4 wall, that's, we can let that go through. So, Surveil for 1, that's going to be a Hollow Fountain on top, and then Hollow Fountain. So 1, 2. Yeah, let's go and shock. Yeah, we're going to shock this one, pay 2 life. And if they've got another counter spell, they've got it. Or we could actually just try to end up going for Jace. Yeah, let's do that, because we're still going to get the same effect. We're able to go for some card advantage. If they want to burn one of their last few counter spells on Jace, that'll still give us an option. Then if they mill us out, we still have an alternative win condition, which is pretty nice. So let's go for the +1. We're going to target our opponent. Yeah, I think at this point, we're just going to target them, because So we get some stuff out of their hand. Then we draw into Lawn, Rune, Enforcer. So let's go ahead and have that enter the battlefield. And we do have, you know, with this Dovin deck, this is kind of a stack style deck in a way. What we can do is we can tap down certain creatures. They're going to go for Murder. Yeah, that's fine. Go for it. It's really just more in here to where if we get this down early game and we can somehow tap down our opponent's creatures, then that's a pretty nice feeling. So, do we want to try to go for? Let's go for the card draw first. So let's have our opponent put the 2 cards into their target our player. They're going to put the top 2 cards of the library into the graveyard. We're going to get an extra card draw, and that's going to be Giant Killer. And I think we just go for Narset. Let's just try to generate as much value as possible at this point right now. So we're going to go for the -2. Even if they do get some sort of extra card advantage. All right, so they're going to go for Tails In. Oh, there we go. Got that last counter out of their hand. I'm going to let that resolve. And that's fine. I'd rather leave up Absorb for Ashiok, to be perfectly honest. And then let's just go and pass the turn. So I kick it back over there. So we're getting pretty close to that -8 with drawing a few extra cards. That'll be pretty good for us. And then more than likely we'll probably end up going for Dovin next turn. So, ooh, Dovin's Veto. Yeah, let's go for the card draw first. We're going to go for Jace. We're going to target our opponent, make them get rid of 2 cards, mill 2 cards out, cash in that card draw. Oh, this is some good magic. Let's go for, yeah, let's give a shot. Do we want to crack open Dovin? That's going to leave us open on Ashiok for 5 total mana, which really isn't that bad if they want to make us mill out. We are looking at 31 cards in the library. We do have the Jace alternative. So, yeah, let's go for that. So, if they've got counter magic, they've got it. If not, we're going to be able to. All right, so into the story. Draw 4 cards. Okay. Let's go for the +1. Gain a life, draw a card, and we're going to kick it back over there. Draw into Planar Cleansing. So that will allow us to destroy all non-land permanents. We don't necessarily need to go for that just yet because we've got some pretty good Planeswalkers on our side at this point. And so we'll see what they end up getting down for the turn. All right, so with Castle Vantress, they actually put, Mystic Sanctuary, they put a Thought Erasure on top of on their library. But at this point, we're going to be able to go for that +1 to put that back into the graveyard. So that's going to be fine for us. So we have a little bit of a milling action, but we're pretty much safe at this point right now, especially Dovin and Absorb. All right, so they're actually going to go for Wishclaw Shaman. That does allow us to, if they don't have a way to untap it, that's going to allow us to bring it back to them. But we might just end up holding on to it because I don't think we really want to give them the opportunity to cash in an extra card draw or get an extra tutor off of that. Okay, so we have that Wishclaw Shaman. Let's go for the +1 off of Dovin. And let's go for the Jace activation. That's going to be +1. We're looking at 24 cards. Yeah, let's still target our opponent. Oh, I keep clicking on the deck instead of our opponent's face. There we go. We're going to go for Jace. They're going to get rid of 2 cards. It's going to be an island. That should be the land drop for the turn. Let's have that come down. Now, if we banish into Fable, that puts us on Absorb and Dovin's Veto, which actually I don't really mind. And we actually have an artifact and an enchantment with this. Yeah, let's do this. So let's go for Banish into Fable. Let's return Arcane Signet. Let's return Leyline of Anticipation. Let's return Ashiok. Oh, look at this. Just getting a nice little 3-for-1. And that Wishclaw Shaman's going to be the extra option on this Banish into Fable. That feels pretty good. So we're going to send all of those back. We're going to get a few extra creatures down on the battlefield. And then do we want to go for Locket? No, let's just go ahead and pass the turn at this point right now. So we might actually, yeah, we're going to hold up Absorb. I'd rather hold on to Absorb. So we're going to pass the turn over to our opponent. Leave them at 25. They are a little bit bottlenecked on mana. They've got, well, they did make the land drop for the turn, but we still have Absorb. So if we want to kind of jack the commander tax back up on Ashiok, it might not be that bad of a deal if they end up going for that. So, because really, if they mill us out, then that gives us an alternative win condition. So Leyline of Anticipation. Do we want to stop that? No, that's fine. We're going to let that go on through. And then Witching Well. Into the battlefield, Scry 2, that's just an artifact. Yeah, that's fine. Now, we are looking at Jace going for the -8, and then we will have Dovin that we're getting pretty close to that -9. But if we want to start getting in on our opponent, we can actually go for the -1. Alright, so they're actually going to go for Tyrant Score and destroy target creature with very mana costs 3 or less. I think that will finally get Dovin out of our hand. So let's go for Dovin's Veto. Let's go and counter that spell. And that's going to protect it. We want to make sure. All right, Pota's going to scoop it up on this one. Yeah, we need to make sure that we have a threat coming across. And we've got 2 Planeswalkers that are about to ultimate. So that was a pretty good showing from Dovin. I mean, once you get down Dovin and you go for that +1, get that card draw going. And the cool thing about playing Brawl is that you draw a lot of cards during the game. So if you just kind of include Jason there as a oops, I win sometimes, especially when you're playing against Mill, that is a pretty good feeling. But I will see you in the next game. Bye. Welcome to Dovin. I forgot who I was playing for a second. Dovin, Architect of Law. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Let's have some fun. As far as our opening hand goes, we've got Giant Killer. We are playing against Nikya, which... yeah, I think this is not... well, do we want to mulligan? We've got Dovin's Veto, Flux... man, this is... yeah, let's go on mulligan. I'm not super... I do like Arcane Signet. Yes, we will keep on this one. I like this hand a lot better. Probably going to see a lot of creatures from our opponent. And so at least having Time Wipe and another piece of universal removal like Prison Realm and a Mana Rock and Azorius Locket is a very nice thing to have. So, and the other thing was I couldn't remember the power and toughness off Nikya. And so I didn't know if she was like one of those 2/4 creatures, but she is a 5/5. So that that first hand we kept, or we could have kept, might have been worked out if we had that one piece of removal spell. But either way, I'm glad we kept this one. So, do we want to end up going for... I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's just go lead off with a Castle Vantress and then pass the turn to our opponent. So, playing against Nikya of the Old Ways. You can't cast non-creature spells. Then, whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana, any type that land could produce. So, we run into another island. And yet, I guess at this point, we'll just go for island and then pass turn over our opponent. So we are looking at island or plains for next turn that will allow us to go for Locket. One thing that we do want to do, especially against a deck like Nikya, is really wipe the board. So if we can get a creature down and kind of clean the board up that way, that'll be certainly a good thing for us. So let's have plains, or actually island already went down. Let's have Azorius Locket enter the battlefield, and then we'll pass the turn. So probably next turn we'll end up going for Smothering Tithe. If we can kind of tax our opponent out and maybe get some mana, that would be pretty good. But if we can find a creature to kind of stop this extra double mana producing, that would be another good thing, because stuff like Negate and the other stuff, that's not going to really get it done. So, in fact, let's just go and go for Prison Realm on Nikya. Let's just get that commander tax going up on her as quickly as possible. So let's do that. So let's have Prison Realm come down. We're going to go and exile Nikya. And the good thing about doing this is we do have Planar Outburst, I think. I can't remember. It's the 3 double white. Triple white and then 3 colorless, destroy all non-land permanents, but thankfully getting rid of their commander sends it back to the command zone. So that's going to be command tower on top, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're going to leave that on top because that will allow us to go for Dovin too. So, and then there's nothing in our graveyard, so let's have plains enter the battlefield. Now, probably not going to see a lot of non-creature spells from our opponent, but at least having Negate open is a good option for us to stop any sort of ramp spell that they may have. And if they're just going to go Grumgully Beat Sticks, and we'll take this. So that's a 6/6 on the battlefield. Let's have a command tower enter the battlefield. Now, at this point... all right, so we're going to go for Time Wipe. We're just going to wipe the entire board. For some reason with Time Wipe, I was concerned that we had to return a creature. But no, that worked with Time Wipe. I was thinking we had to do that. So it's going to be God of... oh, I'm glad we dodged that one. That would have not been very good for us. So that's God Eternal Ronus. And that's going to be a 5/5. We plus up for 1. Yeah, I kind of like that. So we can actually go Island. Let's have Dovin enter the battlefield. And then what we can do is we can go for the +1, or we can actually go for the -1 if we want to, because that's going to tap down God Eternal Ronus. Yeah, let's do that. So we can go for the -1. We've got Smothering Tithe. We can hopefully get that down to generate a little bit of extra mana. But now that we're going to kind of keep God Eternal Ronus on lockdown, we'll try to put ourselves in a position to where we can get that +1 going again. So as long as that's tapped down, we'll be in a pretty good spot. So let's have Mystic Sanctuary. We're going to put Time Wipe on top of our library. Yes. That's going to go on top. So we are staring down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They still have to make another land drop. I think I kind of like going for Dovin. +1, draw a card, and let's just go and get rid of God Eternal Ronus. That will put it on top. But actually, let's do it this way. Let's go Chromatic Lantern. Let's go Time Wipe. We're going to destroy all creatures. That does put it third from the top, but at least we're going to give ourselves the opportunity to get a few more Dovin activations, and that's really what we want to go for right now. So that's going to be really important. Now, the good thing about Nikya is typically if you're building Nikya, they care about having non-creature spells in there. So most of their stuff is going to be creature-based, so we're just getting threat after threat. Let's see, Vigilance. To one target creature you don't control. So we can end up going for that if we want to. If we want to go for the -1 to tap that down, let's go for some card draw, because we still have Depose that we can have. Oh, yeah, that is a wonderful draw. So let's go for Giant Killer. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Definitely going to target Gargoyles. We have no creatures for them to fight right now, so it's not really going to matter. So we're going to destroy that creature. Let's make sure that we make the land drop for the turn. Let's go Smothering Tithe, because this is going to be a good way for us to start to generate some nice mana to get those treasure tokens, and that still keeps us open on going for... Actually, if we go Giant Killer, that'd be pretty good. And then we'll still have Chromatic and lock it on Depose or Negate. So yeah, we're going to have that come down, because with Giant Killer, being able to just kind of tap down a creature is going to be very nice for what we want to do. So we're in a pretty good spot at this point right now. We got Smothering Tithe down. We're going to be able to get those treasure tokens. If they want to start paying the Smothering Tithe tax, which they're probably not going to be because they need to get some resources on the battlefield, we're at least going to be able to... kind of start generating some mana. All right, so that's going to be Nikya coming down. And we're going to hold on to Depose right now. Now, one thing that we might want to do is cash in the Azorius Locket. That would be something that would be beneficial to us. And we run into Didn't Say Please. Okay, so let's go for Dovin. We're going to go for the +1. Gain 2 life, draw a card. Oh, Banishing a Fable. That is wonderful. We definitely have an artifact and an enchantment. So at this point... we can bounce some stuff back to their hand. I kind of like no attacks. I kind of like holding up Didn't Say Please, because it's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we've got like 11 mana, so we're pretty much open on what we want to do. So let's pass it to their turn. They're going to be able to draw into God Eternal Ronus. If we can Didn't Say Please on God Eternal Ronus, that'll kind of make it to where we don't have to worry about that double effect coming down, which it's not going to close the game out, but it'll make some blocks for us kind of weird. And we definitely going to stop before we go to combat for a Giant Killer. So that's going to be End Raise Forerunners. And that will definitely get the Didn't Say Please. So let's do this. So let's go Didn't Say Please on End Raiser. End Raiser, didn't say please, buddy. Come on. And then we're going to go try to tap down Nikya before... I think we've got the stop correctly set up. And we're going to go tap down Nikya. We're going to let that resolve, double the power and toughness. Do we want to... yeah, we've got just enough mana for this. So let's do this. So we're going to send God Eternal Ronus and auto pay for that. Yeah. And it's going to send Nikya back. And then at this point, just so we get an extra token... actually, yeah, we're going to bounce a Prison Realm back. That'll be perfect. All right. So we're going to bounce a Prison Realm back to the hand. We're going to bounce God Eternal Ronus and bounce Nikya back. That's going to be an extra night token on the battlefield. And if you just heard some thunder, there's some thunderstorms in the area. So... just giving you a heads up. Bounce that back. We end up with some night tokens on the battlefield, which is going to be really good for us. It's actually going to make this Depose deploy really good. Let's go for the +1. Now, if we can just run into a few more of our Planeswalker... oh, the Realm Cloak Giant. Okay, so we're going to start swinging in on this point. So we're going to go and swing in, and that's one of the good things about Banishing a Fable. This is just such a good utility card, especially in Brawl. We're going to be swinging in for 6. That's going to knock them down to 17. And yeah, we'll simply just kind of go and pass the turn. Everything else is sorcery speed. We do have deploy that we can go for, but we're going to hold on to that because we might want to cash in some Thopters to kind of help get this clock going. Worst case scenario, they do go for Nikya and God Eternal Ronus, or maybe something like Beanstalk Giant. It doesn't have trample. We still have at least 2 different answers on the battlefield, and worst case scenario, we have Realm Cloak Giant that's going to be able to destroy all non-giant creatures, which we're looking at a Centaur Druid and a Zombie God with God Eternal Ronus. So yeah, we're going to let that go on through. And then I think just pass the turn. Yeah, because if we end up going... yeah, it's going to be Island. Let's go for the +1. That's going to... oh, there we go. So we're going to run into Kasmina. Let's have Island enter the battlefield. Let's go Prison Realm, because once again, that's going to send Nikya back to the command zone and get that commander tax going again. So Prison Realm on Nikya. That's going to get the Scry and the Scurry and the Fever. I think 1, 2, 3. Actually, we're okay. Well, let's look at the battlefield. So we've got, at this point, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll go and put that on the bottom right now. Let's have Kazmina enter the battlefield. That's going to be a -2 to cash in an extra wizard token. And then we run it to Fairy. Okay, I guess at this point, probably going to get rid of Negate just because it's just not really doing much at this point right now. Let's go to Fairy. And this is where Dovin really starts to take off. This is a pretty good feeling. So let's go +1 up on to Fairy. Let's go and push across with, I think at this point, we'll just go and swing it with the entire crew. We could try to leave up Giant Killer, but at this point, that'll make it a 7. And that's going to be 7, 8, 9. We might end up going, well, we actually don't have enough mana for Deploy. Now, if they pay for the 2 mana for Smothering Tide, then we'll have it. Then we'll probably drop in Deploy, because that'll give us 2 Thopters, and that should be lethal depending on what they get down, because we've got Dovin that can go for the -1 that's going to tap down their creature. -3 is going to return it to their hand, so kind of depending on what they deploy out, we should be able to have lethal based off this. So Ravager Wormhole enters the battlefield, fights target creature you don't control. Okay. So let's see what's going to happen on that, because that's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Let's see who they decide to attack. They're going to destroy target land with an activated ability. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So, and I think that's going to be all of their mana. So we will end up going for that Depose and Deploy line of play. They're going to be swinging in for 4. We're going to let that come on through because it's not going to matter to block on this one. So knock us down to 25, and then we're going to go for a Deploy. This is such a nice card. I love this card. We're going to get those 2 extra tokens down and gain a little bit of life for our trouble too, which, all right, opponent's going to scoop it up on this one. So we did a lethal coming across. We had 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. They were sitting at 10, and then once we get these tokens down, that's going to allow us to close it out. So Dovin doing what he wants to do. You know, there's different Planeswalkers that you can use with different versions of Dovin that you can use, but the 6 mana Planeswalker deck Dovin, oh, that is some good magic right there. Plus up, draw a card, gain some life. That is exactly what you want to be doing in a blue-white control cell. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.